Pilau is what jollof is to West Africans, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Liberians. Pilau is an integral part of Kenyan cuisine, and pilau comes from a marriage of cultures. Hi guys, so welcome to my Kenyan kitchen abroad. My name is Judy. I am a Kenyan living in Denmark, and in today's takeover I am going to be making pilau with goat meat, or rather goat meat pilau. This is my goat meat. I am going to chop this into smaller pieces, and then I'm going to boil it so that it's tender. That way it speeds up my process of cooking. I am going to sort of rinse that to get rid of the excess like blood, and then put it in a pot and boil it for 1 hour. Now you can decide to boil or not to boil. Some people will go into frying it directly, but I like my meat quite tender, and boiling it gives it that tenderness that you cannot get from direct frying. Onto that, I'm also going to add a few sticks of cinnamon. This is a special kind of cinnamon. It's not the sweet cinnamon that we find in sweet dishes. This is a savoury cinnamon, and you can find it in any Asian or Indian store. It's a different cinnamon, so don't use the sweet cinnamon. Use the savoury cinnamon. So that goes in there, and oh yeah, I'm gonna put some salt in there too. I'm gonna salt the water. So I'm using some pink salt. You can use any salt. Let's give it a good, like 1 tablespoon of salt. I am gonna reduce the amount of salt to put in the pilau so that we don't over salt. So that goes in. Cover that. Boils for an hour while we prepare the rest of the ingredients. While the meat is boiling, I am going to soak 2 cups of Basmati rice. I use Basmati rice while cooking pilau because Basmati is just flavorful and it's long grained rice, and I soak it because soaking helps to soften the grains. This kind of rice is aged, 2 years aged, so it needs to be soaked for at least half an hour. And I do that while the meat is cooking, so that once the meat is done and the rice has been soaked for about half an hour to 45 minutes, I'll just rinse and start cooking. So soak that. So I am using like 15 centimeter ginger with the 2 garlic. Put those in a food processor. Bleach. So my meat has been boiling well over an hour now, and I'm ready to take it out. And then sieve the stock. You can drink this soup right now. It tastes amazing. It's full of flavor and nutrients. Or you can proceed, as I will, by using it as a stock. Now let's talk pilau spices. I like cooking with whole spices, but for today I am gonna roast them and then I'm going to grind them. Whole spices are more flavorful, but for some people they may find biting into like cloves or cumin a bit annoying, and so I'm gonna simplify this by just roasting and then grinding them. I have 2 tablespoons of cumin, about a teaspoon of black pepper, 7 cardamom. Yeah, these are the ones that give the pilau its nice aroma. I also have more cloves, about 6 cloves, and a black cardamom. I am going to use this too. It's also quite flavorful. And then instead of using what are they called, coriander seeds, I am going to use my coriander stems. I love using coriander stems. They are full of flavor. And then again I have this which is a cinnamon stick. I am gonna use this. Remember, the cinnamon that I'm using is a savoury cinnamon. It's not the sweet cinnamon. It yeah, it looks like a tree bark, but it really has an amazing flavor to it. So those are my pilau spices. Once again, 1 cinnamon stick, 2 tablespoons of cumin seeds, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 7 cardamom seeds, 6 cloves, and 1 black cardamom. This is optional, you don't have to use it. And my coriander stems. To start with, I have this nice pot here that I am going to just put all my seeds, my spices, give them a nice roast. Make sure they don't burn. If they do, then I have to redo it again, because nothing is as worse as burnt spices. So I'm gonna give that a nice stir until I can feel the aroma rising from the spices. So now I have my pot ready. I am just gonna heat some oil. This is ghee. I like cooking with ghee. You can use vegetable oil, just don't use olive oil. It's very important to let your oil heat up well before you add your onions. So I have about a cup of onions. I'm going to cook this for about 10 minutes until they're nice and brown. The thing about pilau is that you need your onions browned. The browning is what gives the pilau its color. When you brown your onions, that's where the onions will get their where the pilau will get that nice brown color. To speed up things, you can add a bit of salt into the onion. This will speed up the browning process, but make sure that you take into account that the meat already has some salt and the onions have some salt when you're adding, you know, more salt later on. So I'm going to let that cook for 10 minutes. I'm going to add a bit of teaspoon of salt. Adding in the rice now. That's been soaked for half an hour, and then I've cleaned it until the water was clear. Tie it nicely into the rice. I'm gonna add 4 cups of the stock. That stock that I had, and then cover it and boil it on a high for about 5 minutes. Time to reduce the heat to the lowest possible, and then take a foil, seal it completely, and then this is like it's gonna cook with its own moisture. So reduce the heat completely to the lowest setting rather, and then seal that. Make sure that it's completely sealed. You can use a kitchen cloth, you can use a foil. I like to use both. So we're gonna have that, and then allow that to cook. This method of covering with a foil and a kitchen cloth is called the absorption method. This is when you cover and let the rice cook with its own steam, and at about that point when I covered it, the water had nearly sort of evaporated, and now since I've locked in the steam is gonna cook the rice And since I had soaked in the rice for about half an hour, it's gonna the process is gonna speed up. So I only need like 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna remove it from the heat and put it aside for another 15 minutes for it to continue cooking with the steam. That's how you get really nice, fluffy, long, or rather elongated rice grains, pilau grains. So pilau is what jollof is to West Africans, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Liberians. Pilau is an integral part of Kenyan cuisine, and pilau comes from a marriage of cultures, from Arabic, Indian, and local infusions. It's the kind of meal that if you go to a wedding or a party, sometimes even a funeral, and it's missing, then you know something is off. So it's time for the big reveal. Let us see. Smells amazing. Oh, look at that. Just fluff that with a fork. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have your simple but delicious goat pilau. This is how the color should be, thanks to the onions browning. Oh, it smells amazing. Kenyan goat pilau, best served with kachumbari. So you just take a bit of rice like this, some goat, and simple one pot goat pilau, perfect for any day. And remember, like I said, you don't even have to use goat. You can use beef or chicken, mostly beef or lamb. So try it and let me know what you think. Karibu.